2,500 years ago, in a small city surrounded by mountains and sea, a dangerous idea was born. Not an invention. Not a weapon. Not a religion. An idea. That ordinary people could rule themselves. No king. No emperor. No divine bloodline. Just citizens. That city was Athens. And the idea was democracy. But this story does not begin in glory. It begins in crisis. In the 6th century BCE, Athens was unstable. Wealth was concentrated in the hands of a few aristocratic families. Farmers were drowning in debt. Some were even sold into slavery for what they owed. The city stood on the edge of collapse. Then came a reformer named Solon. Around 594 BCE, Solon cancelled debts and freed those enslaved because of them. He reorganized political power and allowed more citizens to participate in government decisions. It wasn't full democracy yet, but it was a crack in the wall of elite control. Later, in 508 BCE, another leader, Cleisthenes, pushed the system further. He reorganized citizens into new political groups and created the Council of 500. Power was distributed more widely. By the 5th century BCE, Athens had developed what we now call direct democracy. Male citizens could speak and vote in the assembly. Major decisions, war, laws, leadership, were decided by public debate. But here is the truth. This democracy excluded most of the population. Women had no political rights. Enslaved people had no rights. Foreign residents had no vote. Out of perhaps 250,000 people in Athens, only around 30,000 to 60,000 were eligible citizens. Democracy was revolutionary, but incomplete. And even this fragile system did not last forever. After decades of war, including the devastating Peloponnesian War against Sparta, Athens weakened. Political instability followed. In 322 BCE, Macedonian control ended Athenian democracy. The experiment had faded. For centuries after, democracy almost disappeared. Power returned to emperors and kings. But something important survived. The idea. In ancient Rome, another version emerged, the Roman Republic. Beginning in 509 BCE, Rome removed its king and established a republic. Citizens elected representatives. There was a Senate. There were checks on power, but Rome also struggled with inequality and internal conflict. By the 1st century BCE, powerful generals gained influence. Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon in 49 BCE, igniting civil war. Soon after, the Republic transformed into the Roman Empire. Once again, democracy collapsed under the weight of ambition and instability. For over 1,000 years, monarchy dominated Europe, Asia, and much of the world. Kings claimed authority by divine right. Power was inherited, not chosen. Democracy seemed like a failed ancient experiment. Then came a new era. The Enlightenment. In the 1600s and 1700s, philosophers began questioning authority. John Locke argued that government exists to protect natural rights, life, liberty, and property. If it fails, people have the right to replace it. Montesquieu proposed separation of powers to prevent tyranny. Jean-Jacques Rousseau wrote about the general will of the people. These were not just theories. They became fuel. In 1776, 13 colonies declared independence from British rule. The United States Constitution, written in 1787, created a representative democracy with checks and balances between branches of government. It was not perfect. Voting rights were limited. Slavery continued. But the structure was new. In 1789, France erupted into revolution. Citizens demanded liberty, equality, and fraternity. The monarchy fell. A republic was declared. The revolution turned violent. Power shifted repeatedly. Eventually, Napoleon crowned himself emperor. Again, democracy struggled. But it did not vanish. Throughout the 19th century, voting rights expanded slowly in many countries. Property requirements were reduced. More men gained suffrage. Then came one of the most important expansions in democratic history. Women's suffrage. Beginning in the late 19th century and accelerating in the early 20th, women across countries fought for the right to vote. New Zealand granted women voting rights in 1893. Many others followed after World War I. Democracy was evolving. After World War II, something dramatic happened. Fascism had devastated Europe. The horrors of authoritarian rule were undeniable. Many nations rebuilt themselves as democracies. International institutions formed. Democratic ideals spread across continents. By the late 20th century, democracy became the dominant political model globally. After the Cold War ended in 1991, more countries adopted elections and constitutional systems. But history does not move in straight lines. In the 21st century, democracy faces new challenges. Voter trust has declined in some nations. Political polarization has intensified. Social media spreads information and misinformation at unprecedented speed. Some governments hold elections but weaken independent courts and free press. Others struggle with corruption or instability. According to research organizations like Freedom House and the Economist Intelligence Unit, global democratic standards have fluctuated in recent years, with some countries improving and others declining. Democracy is not self-sustaining. It depends on institutions, on participation, on accountability, on trust. Unlike a monarchy, democracy is not one person. It is millions of people choosing to follow rules they create together. It is slow. It is messy. It often frustrates those who live under it, but compared to systems where power rests in one hand, democracy offers something rare in human history: peaceful transfer of power. Leaders can lose elections and leave office without war. That simple act has prevented countless conflicts. From a small gathering of citizens in ancient Athens to modern parliaments and ballot boxes around the world, democracy has risen, fallen, disappeared, returned, expanded, and been challenged again. It has never been perfect. It has often excluded. It has sometimes failed, but the idea that people should have a voice in how they are governed has survived for over 2,000 years. And ideas, once born, are difficult to erase. Democracy is not guaranteed. It is not automatic. It is a system that requires constant renewal. From Athens to today, its story is still being written. And this chapter belongs to us.